Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of the Blacklist Season 10 premiere. We have made it to the Night Owl. Also, why do you get to have two nicknames? You get to be the Freelancer and the Night Owl? Like, I know this is the final season, but if they theoretically wanted to go to, like, Season 20, they could just start being like, let's give every Blacklister ever multiple nicknames, and that way we could just bring them back. Ogden Greeley, your second chance is here.
All right. This episode was well worth the wait. I do have one grievance and I
Yeah.
will get into it in this video, but overall, I was very happy. It was well worth the wait.
Way better in my opinion than the season 9 premiere. I think we're off
Oh,
to a
yeah.
much better start. I think we've got a pretty centralized premise. I
Yep.
think we're building towards some big stuff. I've got a couple little beefs here as well, but we of course will dive into all of that, theories, so much more.
Yep.
Hit that subscribe button because we will have a preview for episode 2, The Whaler, on Tuesday, and that's where we're gonna have our previews all season. And we've got a ton of other things going on at the channel in between, The Last of Us, Bel Air, which is just premiered, Snowfall, which is in its final season. We don't want you guys to miss any of that.
Speaking of Tuesday, it is
Mhm.
also my birthday. And we had a bit of a celebration this weekend. And one of the things I wanted to ask from you guys for sort of a little birthday gift to me, if you wanted, is to head over to our Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV, and just give us a follow. It's something that, we've really wanted to build, over the years, and we've been, slowly building it up.
Yeah.
But as a birthday gift, if you guys would like to do that for me, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you guys, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Now, okay, I'll just start with the first thing I really wish this episode gave, because there's a lot of good stuff we'll get into, but I just want to throw this out there. Does anyone else wish that they actually spent a little bit more time telling us what Reddington was really up to over the time jump, as opposed to being in just like very public locations? And maybe we'll get that down the road.
I think we will get that.
It's just they're not spending any time on Reddington's identity right now. I hope we get that down the road. They're not
It's
really.
the first episode.
I know,
man.
but
slow it.
I wanted some answers. I wanted something more beyond just Reddington and Wu Jing that we already knew about. It's a great premiere, but that is still out there. I am greedy.
Wow, we getting into the beefs right away. All right,
Hey.
my beef is Reddington was barely in this episode. We saw him for like a second in New York, and then we didn't see him for 25 minutes. And then he was in it for like five or 10 more minutes. Like it was barely anything. He was barely in this episode. So that was a beef that I had. However, the rest of the episode for me was set up so wonderfully. I know we've seen in the comments that there's people out there that are kind of like, Wu Jing, I'm not really into him. I wasn't really into him in that first episode. I would like to hear from you guys now in the comments if you're into him now, because oh my goodness, he's so slick. Like everything that he had sort of set up, that minute that they went to Montserrat because they were looking for the Night Owl, which they thought was a statue, but really was a freelancer, like you said. He's been able to get into this site that no one knew of. Like his connections are so deep. And that minute that the elevator opened and he came out and Wrestler was like he saw a ghost. It was so slick.
The TV directors, I don't think, get enough credit sometimes. The directing of that action sequence with Wu Jing and that was so intense, especially since they obviously don't have the budget of like an action movie, so there's only so much they could do. But the panic that was going on in there when Wrestler and the task force realized just how screwed they were, like that was so well executed. It really kind of just threw you back into like the Blacklist at its best, which is to me when it's dark, when it's intense, when you've got like really memorable adversaries. All of that was good. I do love the fact that, we have Wu Jing, an iconic season 1 Blacklister from early on. They wasted no time in bringing in the Freelancer, another iconic Blacklister, like the second Blacklister we ever saw on this show. And they acknowledged, his last time he was around, in season 8 with Liz as well. So they really tied up a lot of things from the past, and they paid homage, I think, in a way that I really want, because it is the final season. You want to be able to sort of look back and remember things fondly.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they're not just taking Blacklisters who are alive and not in prison, because that was one of my worries where I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a short list because a lot of them are dead and a lot of them are in prison. So who's really coming back? So to have it be the first episode where it's like, Wu Jing doesn't care. Not only is he not in prison, he's in a site that nobody knows about, but he is so well connected that they have like shown it to us, to the task force right away, that Wu Jing is able to get you no matter where you are. That scene with the freelancer coming into the van and being like, sort of like, hey, what's going on? You know, are you my new friend? And Wu Jing's just like, I'm not your friend. No, we ain't friends. Sorry. But, you know, we do have a common enemy and here we go. Like, it was so slick.
Wu Jing is like that contestant on the reality show who's like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for love, except I'm here for violence is more of Wu Jing's end goal.
I love him.
He is so good. Now, is this where I take my victory lap on Bearded Reddington?
Go for it. Yeah. Okay, so we saw some photos of bearded James Spader. He had taken a photo. He was like with his bike or something or on a hiking trail with somebody, and he took a picture and he had this beard. I assumed it was vacation beard, but here we are.
See, here's the funny thing. I still think you're right. I do think it was vacation beard. I think what happened is they probably saw that photo and were just like, there is a little bit of a time jump. You know, why not? Just keep the beard to show a passage of time. And the whole time you've been away, I kind of wish that they had addressed, like, nobody really even explicitly mentions the beard, like Aram, and we'll talk about Aram, but Aram is just like, he looked different, but nobody is just like, oh, you had a beard. Oh, you don't have a beard anymore. What? It's fine. I like that it was there, and everybody who was like, I don't like the beard, you only saw it for a minute, so you could deal with it.
I don't like the beard. I dealt with it. It's over. It was just a minute, but since you brought up Aram, let's talk about that. Because last season, you know, he was supposed to be going off to New York, which he did. And seemingly he was gone from the show. But nope, here we are. It's the very first episode, is the very opening, is someone who left the show. And it's amazing to me that they went in this direction. And I'm sure because it's the final season, you know, Amir was like, of course, I'll come back and do some stuff for the show. It's the final season or whatever. But to actually have the show open with him was brilliant. I absolutely loved it, where it was like, oh, you know, usually people leave shows. It's like, you know, when Polly Perrette left NCIS, and we just never heard anything about Abby ever again. It was just kind of like, oh, well, that's like really disappointing. We're barely even getting updates on anything. It's like, yeah, Rom's in New York, but we're hearing from him again right away. It was lovely. I loved it.
Amir, since I know you're watching this video and you're active on social media, I want to hear
that second part is true.
Yeah, I want to hear. I just want to hear the story about this because, you know, he was filming The Kite Runner for a long time on Broadway. I mean, he's clean shaven. He was clean shaven for The Kite Runner, which also very funny that Aram is beardless and Reddington has a beard. It's kind of like a nice role reversal. But no, I would love to know, like, when he filmed this, how he filmed it, because I kind of feel like it's a situation where he probably only had like a couple of hours. He's not like filming with like any other cast members in the same scene or whatever. So they were probably just like, hey, Amir, just go to this corner. We'll just shoot you for a couple of hours and then you can leave and get back to work.
So we had another Blacklister show up, Jennifer, and seemingly she's dead now.
Yeah.
It looks like we're in a situation where, of course, Wu Jing is trying to find everybody that was on Marvin's list to bring everybody together to go versus Reddington, but she is no longer on that list. But she was able to give at least the information that Wu Jing needed to figure out where the Night Owl / Freelancer was.
I really like how they did this. And I know this is not really a Blacklister that anybody is going to remember or be invested in. And, you know, that's fine. Because I think what was just important is it really hits the theme of this show home. And they're able to sort of incorporate things. Because, you know, there's probably going to be some other, you know, and I don't want to be mean and call her a red shirt Blacklister. But there are some less than memorable Blacklisters who they could bring back in a similar capacity. And then, you know, save the freelancers of the world. And, you know, I want to say the Alexander Kirks of the world, but we don't know if he's coming back.
Pratt.
Yeah, like the really, really good Blacklisters for down the road to give us something a little bit meatier with that. The Wu Jing construction of that story is really, really solid. I'm happy about that. I'm excited about where that could go, even if I've got a million questions all around it.
Yeah, this is the thing is that like I said, I've heard from you guys. Not everybody's the biggest Wu Jing fan. I'm hoping that that's turned around with this episode. But I would like to know, it doesn't have to be a whole episode or anything like that, but I'd like to have a little bit more insight going forward of how in these past 6 months he was able to get his network back up and
Yeah.
running to this level, and how many blacklisters he's actually already reached out to, because clearly he's already at least reached out to one.
I also just want to
Well, now
see,
two.
like, how is Reddington really counteracting this to the best of his ability? Like, is he calling up other people in his network beyond people that we've seen, and is sort of trying to collect as many safeguards as he can? Because I think things are very fascinating from his point of view, and that's one of the things that, I'm frustrated with, just because I always, we're all in sort of the outside looking in, wanting answers, where it's like, here is Wu Jing, an extremely dangerous criminal who's rounding up people to stop Reddington, and yet Reddington seemingly doesn't really have that much of a bodyguard anymore. They barely addressed Weecha not being around at this point. Dembe's been doing his job. I love that, like, Chuck got like a legitimate speaking line in this episode, and Chuck was just like, this is my scene, I'm gonna cook, and Chuck just like tries to make like a 5-course meal in 2 minutes. But it's like, how is Reddington doing this and not just being like taken out?
Yeah, and I think that this is part of where we saw him looking at that real estate, being like, I need a place that's a big place, but it needs to be really secret, no windows, no nothing.
Yeah.
And he has no bodyguard, no nobody. I think because he knows so many blacklisters are coming after him, and that, Marvin has set all this in motion for the past 6 months, that anybody that he could be connected to or knows that he's connected to the FBI, I think he's just had to find a way to just sort of cut everybody out.
All right, I'm going to do tinfoil hat here.
Oh,
Get
here we
12
go.
minutes in here. Is this a little bit of a, this is not a full Drago from Rocky, but like if I die, I die with Reddington. And he is just like, Reddington does care about other people. He's got a heart. Maybe he is just sort of like, if I try to pull Dembe back in, if something happens to Dembe, I've already seen something happen to Liz. Like, how much is that going to guilt eat me up?
And I think it would. He loves Dembe.
Yeah.
And we've said this in our previews as well. We want to see these two back together, working together. And now that, like, that conversation with them at the elevator where Dembe was kind of like, where's your security? Where is anybody? You're just rolling alone? Like, this is not okay, sort of thing. And seeing Reddington being like, don't worry, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm on my own. No worries, no worries. You can see the worry all over Dembe's face. And I'm really hoping that that's what's going to push Dembe to then be like, listen, I need to be over here. I understand I'm with the FBI, but my heart and my spirit and my soul is over here with Reddington. I got to help him.
We've told a lot of jokes over the years about the task force being like this ultimate ragtag operation put together by like rubber bands. Like, the rubber bands at this point are almost like snapping apart to the point where you have Dembe, who is kind of, I think, more on the fence than he's willing to admit to himself. They're bringing in freaking Tadashi, who was hilarious, by the way, in this episode. This is like, Tadashi's like, this is my moment. I'm going to just in awe of everything around him. And then you have Sia, who you are bringing in. And, Sia seems fascinating enough as a character. She does have that backstory with Mira. Is this where we question the show's timeline of events?
No, listen, we all of us are buckled in for the timeline of events. Like, come on. It's been since season 1 where, Liz was a little kid. Now she's like 14 at the same timeline. Listen, we have to have little bits of disbelief here that are okay and have suspension of it. All right. We'll be okay.
Time is a flat circle in the world of the Blacklist.
I know. Listen, I really like Sia's character a lot, and I liked her reasoning for how she ended up becoming a spy in the first place, where she was like, listen, my mom died, there was all these secrets around it, you told me barely anything, and I understand, but I wanted to be inside the place where the secrets are being told, so I knew that this was going to be my path so I could be part of the secrets. I'm like, what What a really cool way of saying like that you wanted answers and you were going to find a way to make that happen. You wanted to be part of the secrets.
Yeah, I think it was a cool introduction to the character. I think the character seems fascinating
Yeah.
enough. I hope that she just finds ways to kind of consistently tie in to the mystery at hand. Like, this is no offense to Sia or the actress, but I don't really need a full episode that's just about Sia like doing X, Y, or Z if it's not important to what's going on with Reddington
Mhm.
or Wu Jing, just as a function of where we are in the story
Mhm.
right now. What I think could be fun. I don't know if they're going to do this, but if, Sia's desperately looking for answers, we could start to dig into some stuff that ties into Berlin and season 2. And, there's obviously certain characters you can't bring back from that arc, but is there still a way to, tie in? Give us some season 2 nostalgia. You're already doing a lot of season 1.
No, I think with her coming in as part of the task force, there's no reason she can't just be given the answers at this point. She's already part of this secret operation. She's been part of secret operations everywhere. Her whole code name should just be Secret. Like she can easily get those answers now, or she should be able to. She's part of this task force.
She is. She everybody on the show now, there's a chance for there to be strangely a much more level playing field because Reddington needs the task force in
Yep.
a lot of ways, perhaps more than he ever has, because
Yep.
dude's gonna die if they don't start bringing in people
Yep.
in the relatively near future. It was nice to see Agnes again as well.
Yes.
Even if it's just a brief period of time. I still wanted something more when it comes to answers on Reddington or a discussion on. I just hope they haven't forgotten about
They
it.
haven't forgotten about it. It's episode 1. We are going to be here every single week on Sundays with reviews, on Tuesdays with previews and theories and all kinds of fun stuff. I am sure we're going to get answers. Hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Make sure you stick with us. We've got Blacklist all season long here at the channel.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you here next time.